Hello, Dr. Grande here. I'm making this video on January 14, 2021. Earlier today, my channel hit 600,000 subscribers. The channel hit 500,000 on October 22 of 2020, so it grew 100,000 subscribers in about 3 months. Thank you so much to everybody who has subscribed. It really helps me to stay motivated as I continue to produce new content. It really just amazes me every time I think about it. The topic I have today for this 600,000 subscriber video comes from a question I've been asked many times. Of all of the topics I've covered in my videos, which ones stand out the most to me? I started working on this question about a month ago because I wanted to make sure that I had time to look at all the titles of the various videos and really think about the ones that truly stood out to me, the ones that really had an impact on me on some dimension. I selected videos that fit into one of 3 criteria: a case or a topic that was difficult to process because of the nature of what happened in that case, like the nature of the crime; a topic that I thought was humorous, even if it was a bit of dark humor; and a topic I thought that was just plain fascinating because it was so different than what I would normally expect. For each of these 3 videos, I'll also mention 2 videos that I considered for that spot, but they didn't quite make the cut. So they're like runner-ups or honorable mentions, I suppose. The first category or criterion will be cases that were so horrible that my emotional reaction was something that I really noticed during the production process. Perhaps it slowed things down a bit, or really just gave me a different view of the case. So not only applying cognition to the situation, like thinking about it, but kind of responding to my own feelings about the case. Starting with the honorable mentions, some of the more challenging cases or topics have been those that involved individuals that I liked or I felt some type of connection to. For example, celebrities who I used to watch on television or in the movies, and here I was doing a video about terrible things that happened to them. 2 that really stood out would be Phil Hartman and Robin Williams. Phil Hartman, of course, was murdered by his wife before she committed suicide, and Robin Williams committed suicide, almost certainly because he was suffering so much at the time with a condition that was only getting worse. So those are the honorable mentions. The case I selected was the Slenderman attack. This 2014 case took place in Wisconsin. It is often considered an example of folie à deux, shared psychotic disorder, and is actually so fascinating it met the interesting case criterion as well, but I selected it because of its emotional impact. The case involved 2 12-year-old girls who attacked another 12-year-old girl with a knife. The attackers had this delusion about this Slenderman. This fictional character they thought lived in the woods, and they believed they could join him after committing this crime. The victim was seriously wounded, and clearly they were trying to kill her. This may seem like an unusual choice because I've covered a lot of cases where many people were murdered, and yet in this case, the victim survived. I think that is exactly why the case has such an emotional impact, because we know what the victim was feeling. We don't have to wonder about what she may have been feeling. She has talked about the experience. She was able to express what it was like, how it felt to be betrayed by 2 friends, the confusion, the disorientation. I could only imagine it was the last thing that she was expecting when she went out into the woods to play with those friends. The other emotional part of this story is her tale of survival. She was incredibly courageous. She managed to crawl to a road where a man on a bicycle discovered her and called the police. The second criterion is dark humor. There were many competitors for this category. Again, I'll look at 2 honorable mentions before I move to the video I selected. The first honorable mention would be Jeffrey Toobin, a famous legal analyst who engaged in, let's say, a bit of self-service on a work-related Zoom call. He sacrificed his career on the altar of dark humor and gave a gift to all comedians everywhere that would persist until the end of time. A very generous guy. Another honorable mention would be the Fire Festival video, featuring a man named Billy McFarland, who scammed thousands of people out of their money for some type of music festival on an island. What I liked here was all the great quotes I had to work with to make that video. For example, he said, "We're selling a pipe dream to your average loser," a quote that really captures not only his arrogance, but how a con artist pictures their victims. Tubin and McFarland are pretty funny, but the case that I chose was Christopher Dorner. I didn't actually select it for anything that he did. He was a former police officer who went on a killing spree. Rather, I selected it because of what the police did. I am surprised this case didn't draw more media attention because the police behavior in this case was ridiculously unbelievable. So Dorner had started committing homicides, and he was driving around Los Angeles and east of the city in a Nissan Titan pickup truck. He had killed police officers, so the police were on edge. They were on the lookout for him and his vehicle. In separate incidents, the police fired on people driving pickup trucks who had nothing to do with Christopher Dorner. They attacked 2 women in a Toyota Tacoma who were delivering newspapers. They fired 103 bullets into the truck. Only 2 of those bullets actually struck anybody in the vehicle. Other officers around the same time rammed their police cruiser into a Honda Ridgeline and fired 3 shots into the vehicle, missing each time. None of the officers were charged criminally. They didn't even lose their jobs. All of the victims survived and won millions of dollars in cash settlements. There are 2 parts of the story I found humorous, again, kind of in a dark humor way. The first was how the police couldn't seem to hit their target. It's almost like they didn't understand that the gun does more than just make noise. Like they were looking at it saying, "Oh, you have to aim it too? That seems like a lot of work." The second was their inability to distinguish a Nissan Titan, a full-size pickup truck, from 2 mid-size pickups, the Tacoma and the Ridgeline. I can picture these officers like in a high-speed chase pursuing a vehicle and attempting to describe the vehicle they're chasing. So they would get on the radio and say, "I'm in pursuit of some type of metal box that is rolling on these rubber things." Not very helpful. The third criterion was topics that were fascinating, topics that were incredibly interesting. Looking at the 2 honorable mentions, first I selected Gary Ridgway, the Green River Killer, who really paid attention to detail. For example, one time after realizing he left tire tracks at a place where he dumped a body, he went out and bought new tires. Few serial killers would do something like that. Second, I would say Evel Knievel, the stuntman who destroyed his body jumping over cars on a motorcycle. The word fearless comes to mind, but it doesn't really seem to capture his mentality. It wasn't just that his fear was absent. It was almost like he had a death wish. So an amazing entertainer that, of course, had an unfortunate end. The case I selected as the most fascinating is Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker. I noticed that there's a Netflix documentary that just came out about Ramirez. I'm excited to watch that. I'll probably start watching that tonight and do a video about that in the near future. The reason I selected Ramirez was because he was just so unusual. Here are a few things that stood out about him, that differentiated him from other serial killers. He did not appear to have an age preference for his victims. He attacked children, people in their 80s, and everybody in between. He used a wider variety of weapons than just about any serial killer I could think of. 2 different pistols, a hammer, electrical cord, telephone cord, machete, tire iron, and a variety of knives, just to name a few. He picked his targets seemingly at random, and he broke into houses. Most serial killers don't do that. Many of his victims survived. He had contact with 14 victims that he did not kill, although he tried to kill many of them. And the last item here was his sheer brutality. The judge who sentenced him said that his actions demonstrated cruelty, callousness, and viciousness beyond any human understanding. I think that judge put that pretty well. It's like if someone took pure rage and impulsivity and put it into human form, they would get Richard Ramirez. So those are the videos that stood out to me. I will put the links to those videos and the honorable mentions in the description for this video. I want to thank you for subscribing to my channel, for watching the videos, for commenting, sharing, and liking. Again, it means so much to me. I have a difficult time understanding it sometimes. I just think, how is this possible? But it's a reality, and it really is, as I mentioned before, amazing to me. Please keep these suggestions coming. They are the fuel that keeps my channel moving forward. I'm always excited to see the ideas you post in the comments. The vast majority of my videos come from ideas from the audience. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.